People. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Do you hear that? It's the sound of the glass ceiling cracking. 6 days. Just 6 little sunrises left before the punchline hits. Everyone's getting nervous, aren't they? Their palms are sweaty. Their hearts are thumping like a trapped bird. They're drowning in their feelings. But feelings, oh. Feelings are just the colorful streamers at a party that's about to get crashed. If you want to see the dawn, you have to stop crying about the dark. You need discipline, my friends. Not the kind they teach in those boring schools, but the kind that cuts through the noise. Most people wait. They sit on their hands, staring at the wall, waiting for that magical lightning bolt to strike their nervous system. They call it inspiration. They call it the spark. What a pathetic, cruel little joke! To rely on a feeling to dictate your actions is to build a house on quicksand and act surprised when the walls start to sink. Look at them, the masses, clutching their chests and waiting for their hearts to flutter before they take a single step toward their goals. They are addicts, hooked on the chemical rush of feeling ready. But let me tell you a secret. People readiness is a myth sold to you by people too afraid to move. Motivation, oh, she's a fickle, fair weather friend, isn't she? She's there when the sun is out, when you've had a full night's sleep, and when everyone is clapping for you. But the moment the wind gets chilly, the moment the room goes dark and the applause stops, she slips out the back door without even saying goodbye. If you only move when your heart sings, you aren't a leader, you aren't a warrior, and you certainly aren't in control. You're just a puppet. These civilized people, dancing on strings pulled by your own hormones. A little drop of dopamine and you're a king. A little dip in serotonin and you're a corpse. How embarrassing to be a slave to your own biology! Discipline is the blade that cuts those strings. It's the cold, hard realization that your opinion on the matter doesn't actually matter. You don't need to want to do it. You don't need to be excited. You don't even need to be happy. In fact, it's almost better when you're miserable, because then you know it's the will, not the whim, that's doing the work. When the bed is warm and the world outside is a frozen, indifferent wasteland, that is where the real comedy begins. Feeling person stays under the covers, cradling their comfort like a pacifier. But the disciplined person, they move because they said they would. They move because they made a pact with the only person who can't lie to them themselves. You see, the world doesn't care about your spark. The clock doesn't stop ticking because you're feeling a bit blue or uninspired. The deadline is a hungry beast, and it doesn't eat feelings, it eats results. If you wait for the spark, you'll spend your whole life in the dark shivering. But if you move without it, you strike the flint yourself. You become the fire. People, you don't need to feel like a winner to act like a monster. Monsters don't check their horoscopes or wait for an emotional green light. They just hunt. They move with a terrifying, rhythmic consistency that doesn't require a mood. Think about it. If you only work when you're up, you're only half a person. You're a part-time player in a full-time game. To reach the end of these 6 days, you have to kill the part of you that asks, how do I feel about this? Kill it! Buried in a shallow grave! Replace it with the cold, mechanical grind of a man who has lost the ability to negotiate with himself. When you stop listening to the internal whining, you'll find a strange, quiet power. It's the power of the machine. It's the power of the storm. It's the power of doing the work simply because it is there to be done. The spark is for children. The fire is for us. Have you ever tried to listen to a beautiful, haunting symphony while someone is screaming in your ear? Or tried to watch a masterpiece through a screen covered in thick, gracy static? That is exactly what your emotions are doing to your potential right now. They are nothing but white noise, a high-pitched frequency designed to scramble your signal and keep you from seeing the path. You're trying to navigate a minefield, but you're distracted by the fact that your palms are sweaty or that your chest feels a little tight. What a tragedy to have a brain capable of restructuring the world, yet you let it get hijacked by a bit of anxiety or a bad mood. Let's call these emotions what they really are: biological hiccups. They are echoes of a primitive past. People, these civilized people, ghosts whispering in your ear that there's a saber-toothed tiger in the bushes just because you're doing something difficult. But there is no tiger. There's just the work. Your fear isn't a prophetic vision of the future. It's just the radio playing a song you didn't ask to hear. When you start believing the static, when you start thinking your nervousness is a sign that you should stop, you've let the noise win. You've mistaken a glitch in the hardware for the truth of the universe. The truly dangerous thing about this static is how loud it gets when you're close to the finish line. With 6 days left, the screaming is going to reach a fever pitch. Your brain will start throwing everything at the wall just to see what sticks. It'll give you doubt, it'll give you exhaustion, it'll give you that paralyzing what if that makes your stomach turn. It wants you to stop because stopping is safe, stopping is quiet. But the plan doesn't have a voice. The plan is silent, cold, and indifferent to your discomfort. The plan is the only thing that is real. To win, you have to learn to turn the dial. These civilized people, you have to learn to sit in the middle of the storm and realize that the thunder can't actually touch you. It's just sound. It's just vibration. People, you can feel like you're falling apart while you are simultaneously putting the pieces of your victory together. Those two things can exist at the same time. You can be terrified, crying, and exhausted, and your hands can still be moving, finishing the task, hitting the mark. The static doesn't have to stop for you to do the work. You just have to stop listening to it. Imagine a surgeon. If he let the static of his nerves take over, his hand would shake and the patient would die. Does he stop being nervous? Maybe not, but he separates the feeling from the doing. He treats his own heart rate like a distant car alarm. Annoying, perhaps, but ultimately irrelevant to the surgery. That is what you become in these final 6 days. You must become a surgeon of your own fate. You look at your fear, you acknowledge its existence, and then you ignore it with a smile that would make the devil uncomfortable. When you finally achieve that level of detachment, something magical happens. The static starts to fade. Not because the noise went away, but because you stopped giving it the power of your attention. You realize that the static was only loud because you were trying to fight it. When you stop fighting it and just walk through it, it loses its teeth. You start to hear the music of the result, the rhythmic, steady beat of progress. You become the eye of the hurricane, calm, focused, and absolutely lethal. While the world around you is nothing but a blur of useless emotion. People talk about freedom, like it's some golden horizon, a land where you can do whatever you want, whenever you feel like it. What a riot! Look at those people, the free ones. They are the most miserable wretches on the planet. They wake up and have to negotiate with a lazy, frightened mind every single morning. Should I work? Should I sleep? Should I eat? Should I cry? They are drowning in a sea of endless, trivial choices, and it wears them down until they're nothing but a nub of a human being. They think rules are a prison. They think a schedule is a cage. But they don't realize that they're already in a cage made of their own shifting whims and inconsistent desires. And that cage, it has no floor. Discipline is the only thing that offers you mercy. I call it the mercy of the routine. It sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it? How can a strict, cold, unyielding set of rules be merciful? Because it removes the most agonizing part of being alive, the decision-making. When you have a routine, the decision is already made. These civilized people, you have to wonder if you're going to give it your all today. You don't have to check your emotional barometer to see if you're up for it. The routine is the master, and you are the servant. And as a servant, you are finally blissfully free from the burden of choice. With 6 days left, you don't have the luxury of deciding. To be great, you need to be a train on a track. A train doesn't wake up and feel like going to a different city. It doesn't get bored of the rails. It just moves. The rails are its cage, sure. But the rails are also the only reason it can travel at 100 miles an hour without flying off into the dirt. These civilized people, without the routine, you're just an engine spinning its wheels in the mud, making a lot of noise and going nowhere. But with it, you're a force of nature. The routine is a shield. When the world tries to distract you, when your friends call you to waste time, people, when the internet screams for your attention, you just look at your watch and say, "I'm sorry, I don't have a choice." It's the ultimate excuse. It's the ultimate defense. These civilized people, you've outsourced your will to the schedule. You've built a fortress out of hours and minutes, and nothing can get in. The mercy is that you no longer have to fight yourself. The war is over. The routine won, and now you just get to watch the results pile up. Think of the relief! No more, maybe later. Only now. Only don't. People think I'm the agent of chaos. These civilized people, but they don't see the method to my madness. Even chaos has a rhythm if you look closely enough. In these final 6 days, you must become a creature of habit so intense that it borders on the mechanical. Pull, You eat at the same time, you work at the same time, you shut out the world at the same time. You treat your schedule like a holy text that cannot be edited. And when the clock finally runs out, and the sixth day is done, you'll look back and realize something hilarious. You did more in a week of slavery to your routine than you did in a year of freedom to your feelings. You'll be standing on top of the mountain, looking down at all the free people still stuck at the bottom, arguing with themselves about which shoe to tie first. That's the punchline. The cage was the only way out. 6 days. They say Rome wasn't built in a day, but they always forget to mention it burned in one. Most people look at a calendar and see a countdown, a shrinking window that makes them panic. They see the end approaching, and they start to scramble like rats on a sinking ship. But you, people, you're gonna look at these 6 days and see a whetstone. You're gonna take that dull, rusted slab of a soul you've been carrying around, and you're going to grind it against the clock until it's sharp enough to shave with. 6 days is an eternity if you stop wasting time being human. Being human is exhausting. All that eating and sleeping and worrying about what the neighbors think. For the next 144 hours, you need to become something else. Something leaner. Something meaner. You use the pressure, people, the sheer weight of the ticking clock, to compress yourself into a diamond. Pressure is a gift, my friend. Without it, you're just a lump of coal waiting to be stepped on. But with enough pressure and a short enough deadline, you become unbreakable. Think of it as a beautiful, twisted evolution. On day one, you're still heavy with baggage. You're worried about the past, but you're dreaming about the future. But as the days drop off, 5, 4, 3, when you start to shed the dead weight, you stop caring about the why and you focus entirely on the how. By day 6, there shouldn't be anything left of the person who started this journey. The person who was tired is gone. The person who was unsure has been ground away. All that remains is the edge, a sharp, these 𝐃𝐈𝐒, singular point of focus that cuts through every obstacle like it's made of wet tissue paper. People ask, how do you keep going when there's so little time left? That's the best part. Because there's so little time, you don't have to pace yourself. You can burn the candle at both ends and use a blowtorch on the middle. You can pour every drop of gasoline you have into the engine because you aren't trying to make it to next year. You're just trying to make it the punchline. 6 days of absolute unadulterated intensity is worth more than 6 years of lukewarm trying. Stop asking, am I okay? Who cares if you're okay? Are you done? That's the only question that matters. These civilized people, every hour that passes is a layer of skin you're peeling off to reveal the steel underneath. If it hurts, good. That means the whetstone is working. It means the friction is removing the soft parts, the weak parts, the parts of you that were never going to win anyway. By the time the sun sets on that final day, you won't just be finished with the task. You'll be a different species, people. Most people finish a race looking like they've been dragged through a hedge backward. They're gasping for air, clutching their sides, begging for a glass of water. But when you use the time as a tool, you finish looking like a predator. You finish with a smile. People. Because while everyone else was dying under the stress, you were using it to sharpen your teeth. 6 days. It's plenty of time to become a masterpiece of efficiency or a monster of productivity. Personally, I can't tell the difference. Why do you shy away from the struggle? Why do you recoil from the heat like a burnt child? Is it because it hurts? Oh, of course it hurts! Living hurts. Being a person is an endless parade of stings, scrapes, and bruises. People. But here is the cosmic joke that most people are too blind to see. The pain of discipline is a tiny, insignificant flew bite compared to the soul-crushing weight of regret. You see, pain is a fleeting guest. It's a traveler passing through. Whether it's the burning in your lungs, the ache in your head, or the sheer exhaustion in your bones after these 6 days of war, it has an expiration date. It's temporary. It's a shadow that vanishes the moment the sun hits it. But failure is a ghost that will haunt the hallways of your mind until the day you die. If you quit now because you're uncomfortable, you aren't avoiding pain. You're just trading a few days of grit for a lifetime of what if. And believe me, what if is the sharpest knife of them all. Imagine the 6th day. The clock hits 0. The lights come up. The curtain falls. If you did the work, if you chose the discipline over the emotions, the pain you felt along the way will be nothing but a faint memory. A punchline to a joke you've already told. You'll stand there over the wreckage of your goals, victorious, and you won't even remember the hours you spent wanting to quit. The pain evaporates, leaving behind the solid, unyielding diamond of achievement. It's a beautiful alchemy, isn't it? Turning sweat into gold. But imagine the alternative. Imagine looking in the mirror on day 7 and knowing you flinched. Knowing that when the world got cold, you crawled back into bed, knowing that you let a little bit of feeling tired rob you of your destiny. That feeling, that's not a temporary sting, that's a stain. It's a rot that starts in your stomach and spreads to everything you touch. You'll carry that failure around like a heavy, rusted chain, and every time you try to move forward, it'll jerk you back and whisper, "Remember when you weren't enough." That is the true tragedy. These civilized people, and I hate tragedies, they're so dramatic. So, you have a choice to make in these final hours. Do you want the pain that pays, or the pain that poisons? Do you want to be the one standing in the center of the ring with a bloody grin? Or the one crying in the wings because the feelings were too loud? Every time you feel like stopping, I want you to remember the punchline. The struggle is just the entry fee for the show. If you don't pay it, you don't get to see the ending. And oh, what an ending it's going to be. 6 days. That's all that stands between you and the person you're meant to be, or the person you're going to pretend to be. Put your heart in a box, lock it away, and throw the key into the river. You don't need a heart for this. You just need the will to endure the temporary fire so you don't have to live in the permanent cold. Choose the discipline. Choose the work. And for heaven's sake, don't forget to smile.